Okay, we're doing something different now, slightly different, or in addition to, I guess would be what I want to say. I've got a webcam now mounted above the workbench so that I'll be able to use both hands when I'm working on stuff. So hopefully that'll help me show a little bit more of the work that we do on these things. What I've got here now is the case from Arthur's S38, or the cabinet, I should say. Obviously, I don't know if it's going to show up real well, but this is all pitted and rusted. We've got a hole here, like I said, that we're going to try to fill up. The other problem that I have is the new speakers that we got, the 3.2 ohm speakers, work great, but they don't come close to matching up on as far as the mounting holes. So what we're going to have to do is cut these off, probably move them out, re-weld them on there, and hopefully that works out okay, or we'll figure out something, make a new mounting bracket, something to make those work correctly. We're going to media blast it, we're going to powder coat it, and then use new decals on it. When we do the decals, one thing that we have found is we need to move them down slightly, because the decals that we get from Radio Days are fairly stiff up here, and when we did the other S38, we found that they wouldn't. These are actually mounted where it starts to curve down, but the decals didn't really contour to that. So when we remount these, we're going to move them slightly down. Unless it's pointed out, no one will notice. But anyway, that'll keep those decals on there a little bit better. Now, before we go out and media blast it, we need to take this emblem off, and we need to take this out so we can media blast it, and then we'll try to clean it up a little bit. It's got some scratches. I probably won't be able to take the scratches out, but this is kind of a molded, this is molded in here in a special way, so we need to use that. When I first got it here, there was a crack in here that was working its way up this way. It's not visible from the front. I went ahead while it was in here and dropped some glue on there to keep that from cracking any further. Now, to get that emblem out, the only thing it's actually kind of riveted in there as a part of the emblem. What I have to do is take my Dremel and grind that off, get that out of there, bend these tabs up here, take that out, and then when we put it back together, of course we'll put it back in here, bend the tabs down, and then we just glue the emblem back in. You know, today's glues hold that stuff pretty well. In fact, what I use, and find it in the drawer here, that I really like is this Loctite super glue. It's an ultra gel. It's not instantaneous, but it's a gel, so it's easier for me to put to control where I put the glue, and it's worked real well for me. So that's what I continue to use. That's what I use to glue on the chassis. That's what I use to glue the fuse block to the chassis, and it's held really good. So next video, or in a minute here, after the Dremel charges up, I'll go ahead and grind that off, get that out of here, pull this out, and then we'll take this out and media blast it and start working on filling that hole and moving these. In the meantime, what I need to do is I need to make a pattern of this speaker so that when we go out there, I know where to mount that. So I'm going to scrounge around the shop here for a minute, and then I will find some cardboard and we'll make a quick pattern out of that. Alright, we're going to go ahead and grind that rivet down so we can get that emblem out and get the dial cover out of here. So here we go. so I can remove the cover, or the lens cover out of there. That. Just got a little bit here to go. The emblem, that's in pretty good shape, should clean up pretty good. So next step will be to remove these, and then I'll try to reattach those, and then we'll take it out and media blast it and do the rest. What I'm going to do next is it's kind of dark in here. Bring it up here, I don't know if it'll be able to focus on it. These are the studs that the old speaker mounted on, and basically what it is, it's like a screw. It's got a little bit of head on there, but it's just flat. I imagine what they did is they had some kind of a spot weld type of tool that they put this in and put it down there and welded it on. I'm going to try to cut one of those off, then I'm going to go out to a local Ace Hardware and see if I can find something similar. Then what I'll do is I'll reposition them in the correct place, but rather than, what I'm going to attempt to do first, rather than welding them back on, I'm going to go ahead and try to just solder them back in place. As thin as this material is, I'm a little leery about welding this, so I'm going to try to solder it. Should hold it. There's not a lot of weight on that speaker. And if that works, I'll try to attempt to do the same thing to patch the hole over here. So back to my Dremel, I'm just going to try to grind that off as close as I can. And then, like I said, I'll run out to the local Ace and see if they have anything similar to that. If not, probably what I'll do is get some screws similar to that and grind the tops of them flat, and we'll try to do that. Yep. Okay. Alright, I'll go ahead and finish cutting that off camera. Basically, like I said, it's a regular screw, and then it just had a flat top on there, and they must have spot welded it to it. So we'll go out and see if we can find some of these, and come back and cut the rest of them off and position it correctly, and see if we can't solder them in place. Alright, here's my speaker here that Got a bunch of iron filings on it because I was grinding those studs off, so I'm going to get that off of there. Anyway, here's the speaker. I'm going to go ahead and make a template for it using some cardboard I've got. And then I'm going to, once I get that done, I'm going to go ahead and lay it in the cabinet, grind a spot off, and try to solder on a new stud. Just my theory here. Hopefully it works okay. If it works out, then we will go ahead and do the rest of the studs and take it out and start media blasting it, and then once we get that done, we'll plug that hole, and then we'll be able to powder coat it. Okay, we got that. Now what I need to do is punch a small hole where the stud should go. Go ahead and use one of my desoldering tools or soldering tools here. Okay. Here's the case. I cut those off. I didn't have to, my Dremel tool is a rechargeable one and it doesn't have enough oomph to grind those all off, so as soon as I get done here, I'll go out and take it out to my other shop where I've got some heavier duty grinding tools. And go ahead and grind those clear down. Okay, and I have to do a better job of marking that. Right in there. So I take my Dremel. What I ended up finding for screws, couldn't find anything like the originals, so I just got these screws like this with a flat top, and what I'm going to do is solder it on right like that, and I think that should work pretty good. So I'll get the heavier soldering iron out, and we'll try to solder that and see what happens. Okay, here's what we're going to attempt to do. Patch up that hole. Got this washer, slightly bigger than the hole. I'm going to go ahead and drill that out. Again, I'm going to solder the washer in, fill that part up with solder also, smooth it out. The reason I'm going to use solder on it is I don't want to heat this up. This is so thin. If I try to weld that, it's going to warp it. So what we'll do is we'll put that in there, and then I'll go out and use my drill press and re-drill out the holes. If that doesn't work, we'll try something else, but that's what we're going to attempt to do. There's a step drill here to drill that out. should be slightly bigger. Hole in the middle will give me I can put a nut or a bolt and a nut on there, hold it in place while I'm soldering it in. So we'll give that a shot here and see what happens. Alright, let's see how this goes here. Go put a new battery in here. A little grinding on here. Alright, well, I gotta charge the Dremel up some more. It looks like that's gonna work, so I'll go ahead and charge the Dremel up and finish that, grinding that off. Well, here we are out at the shop. What I ended up having to do, trying to solder the washer in there didn't work, so we came out, cut a piece of metal, same thickness, and welded it in. Luckily, we've got a copper plate that we put behind it, and that kept it from warping it. And I had to re-drill the holes. Holes aren't perfect. There's a couple here that I got a problem on, but we're hoping the powder coat covers that up a little bit. So overall, it's not a bad patch, and we're going to go with that. So next, it goes into the media blaster or media blasting cabinet. Well, here we are with a naked S31 case. All the paint's been stripped off. You can kind of see where the patch was done there. I think it's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. Like one of my mentors always said, it's good enough with the girls we run with. So anyway, next thing we do is we outgas it, and then we're clean it up and apply the powder coat. Well, we've got the powder coating applied. Went pretty well. I love the color. I love the texture. Seems to have hit just right about on. Show you the underside here a little bit. Oops. Underside turned out pretty good too. Picking up a little bit of dirt and stuff from my bench here, but turned out pretty good. Like I said earlier, the patch isn't perfect back there, but it's really hard to notice it unless it's pointed out, so I think we're going to turn out okay there. So I'm going to end this this video. Next video we'll be applying the decals and trying to put it together so we can get it back to Arthur. So till next time, this is KB0ASQ signing off.